Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's section on career planning. One of the favorite ways I have of starting off a lecture is to really show an impactful quote that somehow, some way just kind of encapsulates everything that I wanted to pass along to you today. And who better of an authority figure than Ice Cube himself to help really send the message that I'm looking for today. Heidi, could you please let me know what this quote means to you? And anybody else that feels so inclined as to take this quote down, please jot down on a piece of paper. And before we finish this lesson, refer back to it and edit it, and it'll come in handy for our final discussion. But I thought it was excellent lead into what we're going to talk about today. Because again, drafting is a prerequisite in my mind for most any career path in life, and it couldn't have been put any better than this. And what we're going to do is go into the career planning that he's speaking to here. And it's true, no matter whether it's a career, family, life, or the content required to build a house or build an automobile or build an airplane, it all starts with the fundamentals learned in this class. But in addition to that, we're going to get into a little bit of what builds a career plan. And the way we're going to address that is in 3 agenda items. We're going to go 1, define them. What are they? What are the drafting careers that we're talking about here? A lot of students have no idea as to how vast this is in terms of actual opportunities out there in and outside of the engineering field. 2, we're going to discuss what I do know that's for me. And how do I know? We're going to take a little short assessment, and we're going to reflect on that assessment, and we're going to help you to define exactly where your interests lie. And it'll help you right away, because coming right out of this class will be an opportunity to take the next class, level 2, 3, which could be in an architectural role or that of an engineering mechanical design role. And then 3rd section, very important, because all this is well and good if we can define exactly what we want to do and how excited and how enthusiastic we may want to be in pursuing it. But beyond that, we got to know where to find the support, right? It's got to come from outside of your day-to-day ritual in terms of your 4 classes. It's got to come through mentoring, tutoring, outside student association classes, as well as opportunities in here to maybe work with me on an electronic portfolio to eventually land you an internship, all right, that would lead into a full-time job. These are the 3 agenda items we're going to cover today, and we're going to start to go through them in such a way where they'll make sense to you. Drafting careers at a very high level, you guys, it's categorically manufacturing, electrical, transportation, civil, construction, biomedical, everything listed here. Now, if you notice, the armed services and the College of Universities, those might seem to be extraneous from the discussion of job careers, but in reality, the jobs that are available to you can come in the way of instructing on these subjects every bit as it can come in the way of applying these certain subjects. For example, myself, I was a practicing engineer for many years, and now I'm instructing. There's nothing to say you can't have your hands in one particular discipline or another, but you have to be able to have the requisite classes in order to accomplish that. So at a very high level, that's what we're talking about. Categorically, something that falls within this 12 list items. Drill down a little bit deeper just to give you some examples that are real heavily prominent in this area. If we're talking aerospace, we're talking airplane mechanics, much like you'd see, in automobile shops, those that are responsible for preventative and maintaining of automobiles, aerospace, airplanes, that's heavy in the southeastern United States. Architectural, residential, and commercial. There's a lot of different ways in which your job titles could carry you in those 2 areas of architecture, but believe me, there's wide opportunities there as well. A couple of careers that could be noted as civil, you know, whether you're infrastructure or electrical with designing circuit boards, these are all opportunities to include mechanical, where, you know, you're dealing with machines and devices. These are all opportunities that really present themselves and all have a prerequisite in the way of drafting one. What you're going to find very soon, though, is there's a way in which we can assess you that'll help you to determine exactly what specific area you might want to pursue here. Now, with any one of these career choices, you have to stop and think about 7 different factors here that are going to be pretty much a constant across the board, whether you're working in the field or whether you're working behind a desk, on the computer, or with your hands out at a construction site. You're always going to have, regardless of you're in design or build, you can always have certain tangibles that you're going to have to carry with you. And they will come in time, both out of the classes offered here as well as on-the-job training, design and drafting skills, which is part and parcel of what you get out of this class, problem solving. All right, you have to and you will develop the intuition to figure out and the drive to figure out how to correct a problem as you see fit. Communication is key, because more often than not in an engineering type role, you're going to be working, you know, with groups and teammates and, you know, assessing information. You're going to process that information. You're going to crunch numbers. That's why we put a lot of emphasis on fundamental math in here, because it'll only get more intense as you go further with this. But by and large, you know, you have to be seamlessly comfortable with the idea of going from fractions to decimals to percentages and back again. And, you know, with that, obviously it goes without saying, with the latest software we're running, with the communication tools we work out of in here, the 3D machining center, the 3D rapid prototype printer, we're working with the latest technology. So using and getting familiar with that technology and being comfortable with it is also a big, big key as well. Next, we're going to talk about planning. We're going to get into exactly how we determine where you might want to take this. And when you think about it, planning is, in effect, a process in which a student learns about themselves, the world of work, and how the two relate. And there are a lot of factors that will help you to determine what that career path might be, but you have to remember one thing. At the end of the day, no matter where your interests take you, you have to be comfortable with the idea that what you do for a living is going to require a large part of who you are. So it only makes sense, right, to make sure, right, Mark, to have everybody vested in this in such a way where you know that what you're going to spend the bulk of your day doing is going to be something that you're really passionate about. And there are 6 factors that go into it: goals, experience, interests, skills, education, and values, all of which we can offer here. So let's define work and the job setting in such a way in which you can really, really expand your mind to include the possibilities. When planning out this assessment, one of the first things I wanted you to start to think about was work is an activity that's not about the money. Yes, certainly, I know you're laughing, but at the end of the day, the money will only take you so far. It's got to be something that you feel a great deal of pride in, and that, like we said before, is something that you're quite comfortable in doing. It's also a collection, any job is a collection of tasks in order to make a living, but it's not a means to an end type scenario. In other words, the passion for what you do has to supersede any desire for increased wages. And then finally, work is the central activity around which our lives revolve. And like we just mentioned earlier with the prior slide, that means it would go a long ways if it were something that truly, truly interested you. There are some factors that I want you to consider in terms of aptitude and values, skills, interests, hobbies, work. When you start to go through this 5-question assessment, I want you to think in terms of all these tangibles that will go a long ways, let's face it, towards dictating exactly what it is that you would like to do. You're going to explore your value system. Everybody's got their own moral compass and their own value system. You're going to explore what it is that you're already really competent and comfortable in performing in the way of tasks today already. You're going to delve into your skill set. Where have you been strongest academically up to this point? And then, very importantly, you're going to get into where your interests lie that feed the hobbies that you have. And finally, marry them all into a work type setting. At the end of the day, I always stress this the most. 80% of people out there in the workplace, past generations removed from yours, predominantly have not liked what they've done for a living. That's the number. No way of proving that number one way or another, but it doesn't seem too far off based on people that I've talked to. Why does it have to be that way? It does not have to be that way. There's opportunities out there. The world of engineering in and of itself is quite vast. And you need to really emphasize this, because if you spend your whole adult lifetime working at one career path, you want to make sure that's something you could really be passionate about doing. And then if you kick things off and you're really excited about this pathway you're on, and you intern, you're apprenticing, you're working out of the clubs, you're really taking a liking to, say, mechanical drafting in an automotive type setting, there are opportunities that I could steer you in that will allow you to take school while you're working in a 2+2 year type scenario, or take 2 years work, have a lull, and then transfer into a 4-year. There's nothing to say that you have to get it done in a definitive amount of time. The important thing is that you're climbing this ladder rung by rung towards an eventual career that may or may not involve post-secondary education. But in all likelihood, it's going to involve at least a community college degree or a 2-year. 4-year, that remains to be seen. But you can be making entry level, as this slide will indicate, $77,000 on average, based on the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers just last year. The low end entry level rate is about $50,000, and it goes up to just over $100,000 a year's salary. So the mean falls in about 77.9, and let me tell you, for an entry level rate, that's pretty strong across the board. All right, let's do a little self-assessment, okay? Everybody take out that index card that I presented to you on your tables, and I want you to answer 5 questions. The 5 that you see here, and take a few minutes to do just that. And while you're doing it, be very, very honest with yourself in terms of what the answer to these questions are in a work-like setting. Any questions so far on anything that we've talked about? Anything that led into this self-assessment? You guys good? Okay, awesome. Thumbs up if you're comfortable with every question here on the self-assessment. Excellent. All right, go ahead and jot down your answers. These are pretty straightforward, and they're not the type of thing you think about necessarily every day, but jot those answers down and let me know what you think in a moment. Take a few minutes to do that. And when you guys are comfortable, just give me a thumbs up if you would. Once you're good. This side of the room's good. How about this side? Still wavering? Take your time. There's no need to rush. Good? Awesome. All right, thank you very much. All right, now hold those answers. Keep your thoughts in check. And I want to mention a couple of other things that can help you once you've defined what it is exactly you want to pursue. that we can do here as an educational facility to help accelerate the process. One, we can look at a career cluster in allowing your education to expand beyond this classroom. What do I mean? Extracurricular club and association activities in any given interest area. So drafting one is basically your prerequisite, right? And then you can go down the architectural 2-3 or the mechanical engineering 2-3, or both. It's not an either or proposition. Now, when you do that, you are in effect within this classroom what I consider a cluster, to where I will have extracurricular club activities that will support both architectural and mechanical design. There's also, as I mentioned earlier, a couple of associations that we work with that will help promote the interest once you've defined yours in an academic way as well. I will provide you with mentor support in an academic prep towards a career pathway to include an electronic portfolio, as well as any one-on-one tutoring or mentoring on a career path you may be looking for. And last but not least, of course, opportunities in the workplace, which I can assure you will be present there at the point in time where you go into your senior year, provided you've been at least 2 classes with me prior to that time. I mentioned the student associations, and the ones that we really key on here, both are equally good in terms of getting you out there in a competitive type atmosphere to engage with other schools in competition that surrounds itself with the idea of design for manufacturing opportunities, as well as some paper writing as well. And after this class today, what I want to do is we'll get through our questionnaires, we'll get through our worksheets, and I want to find out exactly who, by way of my roster, once I pass around, might be interested in 1 or 2 of these after we take a minute to explore them. And specific to my mentoring time, of course, it's tutoring as well, but when it comes to career planning, it's going to be well past the point of tutoring by that time. It's going to be really mapping out a future for you. And one of the ways in which we do that in here is with the extracurricular club activity. We have 2. We have a 3D machining on the Tormac Machining Center. We also have a 3D printing club on the Ultimaker printer. They both kind of go hand in hand towards a mechanical engineering design track, but the Ultimaker plastic printer will also support architectural design as well. It also includes, like I mentioned before, dedicated time to work on your prep for the job market and, again, apprenticeship opportunities. As we grow this program and we take you on a case-by-case scenario, we will, I promise you, drill into the community to find out where those apprenticeship opportunities really are. Now, let's take a moment. You've already completed your self-assessment, questions 1 through 5. Let's turn that over and let's go to the career matching exercise sheet. Just a little activity that kind of associates what job description or definition, I should say, goes with what job type, career path. And then I want to open up the floor to discussion on what those self-assessments have revealed to me. Okay? Thank you very much for your time, everybody. And if Donna and Mark could bring up their cards and worksheets once everybody's wrapped those up, I'm going to begin to divvy up the room into groups, and we'll discuss our career planning options. All right? Thank you very much.